What's going on, everybody? Once again, whenever I'm at a card show or looking through cards and, just scanning what's out there, if I see something that just kind of seems strange to me, what I like to do is kind of look into it and see, is it strange or is it just me? And so those sorts of things come up all the time. And just my curiosity makes me wonder what's going on with this particular situation. So, the thing that caught my eye the other day is the cost of the 1963 Fleer set. Now, Fleer is a company that started as a bubblegum company back in the 1800s, and they started dabbling into sports cards. They had that Fleer set of all Ted Williams cards in like the 59 to 60 range. And then right after that, they had a couple of years in like 60 and 61 or 61, 62, where they were kind of trying some all-time great sets, mostly of retired people. And then in 63, they came out with their first kind of complete set for baseball cards. And the set had 66 cards, including a checklist. It would make it 67. So there's 67 total cards in the set. And to be honest with you, I think the set it's a decent looking set. The pictures are kind of cool. The borders and the design is pretty vanilla, but it's also the year of that brutal 1963 top set. So for me, as a collector, I want to have cards of guys like Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente and Sandy Koufax. And those three guys in particular are really expensive to collect. If you want to get a Willie Mays card in an affordable price, it's either going to be in really poor condition or it's going to be at the tail end of his career. And even those are a little bit pricey. So at a show with my dad, and he's looking at this 63 Fleer Willie Mays card in a 5.5, and I'm like, man, that's a really nice looking card, and that price seems so low. Is that really what they go for? So I decided to take a look at it because maybe the population reports are off. Maybe there's a ton of them. Maybe the reason the price is low is because, in higher grades, I don't know. There's only 67 cards. So however many there were produced, there's a lot of each player, you would think, right? So I decided to take a look through the top 9 cards, in my opinion, from that set, and looking through each of those 9, comparing the population reports and comparing what they're currently selling for to see what is going on. So that's what I did here. Take a look at this information and let me know what you think about it, because it seems a little strange to me. It seems a little off. They're not gorgeous cards, but they're not ugly, and they're some of the really big names. Check it out and tell me what you think.
All right, so this really is sort of the other set from the 1960s. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's overlooked. I don't know if it's underappreciated. I don't know if people just don't like it. But let's take a look at the top 9 cards. So we got Willie Mays up first. So again, there are 66 player cards in the set, and Willie Mays is one of them. You can see the 1963 Topps Willie Mays next to the 1963 Fleer Willie Mays. So first up, let's look at the population report of the Fleer Mays, and we'll compare it to the population report of the Topps Mays. So again, these are the two cards. And again, when you look at these population reports, there are a lot more of the Topps that have been graded than the Fleer. And I'm looking at PSA 6s in this whole comparison because these cards are from the 60s. It's a kind of a solid grade. So the Topps in a 6 recently sold for almost $450. And, again, there's more of these than the Fleer. But the Fleer one sold for $234. So it sold for a little more than half, even though there are significantly more of the Topps one than the Fleer one. Usually, if it's a lower population and it's rarer, it would be more expensive, not significantly less. How about Sandy Koufax? So I really like the Sandy Koufax Fleer card. The Topps one kind of looks like he's posing to be on a quarter or something. It's like a side look, a profile view. So again, we'll compare the population reports. These are the PSA population reports because that's where the overwhelming majority of these have been graded at this point. And again, there are more Sandy Koufax Topps overall and in the 6th grade, and we're going to be looking at the 6 costs here. And again, to me, I think they're both decent looking cards. I kind of like the picture on the Fleer one better. So the Topps in a 6 recently sold for $285 on eBay, which, you know, that's a fair amount of money for a card that's nowhere near his rookie. And then the Fleer sold for $170. So, you know, we're talking about over 50% more for the Topps than the Fleer, even though the Fleer is rarer, which again seems backwards. Now, I understand that demand is a huge part of valuation. There's no doubt about it. And people would prefer the Topps, which I understand that too. And I understand that the Topps might be a little bit better looking than the Fleer. I totally understand all of that. But again, let's look at Clemente here. Clemente cards are super expensive. So if we look at the population reports, again, significantly more of the Topps than the Fleer have been graded overall, and significantly more 6s of the Topps out there than the Fleer. The Topps goes for $355 and significantly less, once again, as the Fleer. Is the demand for that card, I mean, how is it that much less? That the population is way less, but the price is way less. I mean, they're not ugly cards. Now, here's another interesting thing. So Maury Wills, he had just won the NL MVP and hadn't had a card yet. And some of you are saying, well, he does have a card. In 1960, there's like a highlight World Series card that he's on, but it's not a Maury Wills card. Less than 1,000 of his rookie card. That's what this is. This is his rookie card. It's the first card of him for him have ever been graded, and this one in a 6 sold for $70. Now, Maury Wills is a borderline Hall of Famer. I think he might get in. Lots of stolen base titles, lots of all-star games, lots of gold gloves, pretty decent batting average, over 2,000 hits. He has a chance at making the Hall of Fame, and that's his rookie card. And it's super cheap right now. If he makes the Hall of Fame, that card's going to go crazy. So Carl Yastrzemski, another all-time great. Again, we're looking at the Fleer versus the Topps. Now, I like the picture on the Topps a lot more than the Fleer in this particular case. And we look there, and once again, a lot more of the Topps than the Fleer. Both of the 6 grade and overall. And the Topps is $84, which that kind of surprised me. That seems lower than I expected. But this one's close. $65 for the Fleer. Still, again, whenever you see a card that's graded, you got to remember you're talking about, $20 to $30 just to get it graded. So if you had bought that card raw, I mean, half the price is in the plastic for the Fleer. Now, Bob Gibson, his rookie card's 59, so this is early in his career. Again, I tend to like the tops a little bit more in most of these cases. But we compare the population report of the Fleer to the tops once again. And again, yes, I totally get that the color on the tops, and it's tops, not Fleer. I get all of that. But there are so many fewer of the Fleer. And the top sells for $142. It was the last sale. And we'll compare that over again to the Fleer, which is like half that. It's half that. The Fleer is half as expensive, but there's a lot fewer of them. So again, as a collector, I'm like, I want to have some Bob Gibson cards that are affordable. I want Willie Mays cards and Koufax cards, and I want some Clemente cards. These are all guys that I want to have their cards, and their cards are really expensive. But here's an affordable way to get one. So Warren Spahn, there are actually more of the Fleer than the tops of the Warren Spahn, which is interesting. So the one time out of our 9 examples that there are more of the overall population that have been graded is Warren Spahn. And the tops goes for $57 and the Fleer goes for $44. So this is one of the only times it kind of makes sense. But in this case, I like the Fleer picture a lot better than the tops picture. But it would make sense that it would be less because there are more of them. But again, I'm just really thinking that these Fleer cards are underappreciated, undervalued, and a great way to get some good cards of some of the all-time great players. So if we look at the Fleer versus tops here for Don Drysdale, another one of the big names that Fleer was able to sign. Again, there are fewer of the Fleer. So it's just the Spahn that had more overall that have been graded in the pop report than the tops. But again, here, similar pictures. I think I like the looks of the Drysdale a little bit more. Again, the red pops. I totally get the color thing. The pictures are kind of similar. So the tops was just about $60. Look at the Fleer. I'm not making these numbers up. These are screen grabs of what they actually sold for. Under $15 is what that 63 Fleer Don Drysdale sold for. Again, somebody at some point spent $25 to get it slabbed. And now the card's worth $15, so they're down $10. Last one we're going to look at here is the Brooks Robinson. Now, I definitely like the tops better again. Again, most of the time, I do like the tops better. I get that. I get that the demand would be a little bit higher for the tops in a lot of cases. A lot more of the tops out there than the Fleer. So the Fleer is significantly harder to come by. And the picture on the Fleer is not great. Neither picture's great. But the color definitely pops better on the tops. And the prices are kind of similar here. So $50 for the tops and just about $40 for the Fleer. So again, my big takeaway here is not that I'm trying to convince you that the Fleer cards are better looking. But what I am thinking is, when looking at the population report compared to tops, when looking at the affordability, they seem like they have less value than maybe they should. That's all. This is an affordable way to pick up some older cards of some of the all-time great players. Check them out.